Hey, good morning guys. I'm Philip. Welcome to the Driver Side Chats. It is another beautiful morning. It's a Friday. Can't wait for the weekend. And I am on my way to work. It is going to be a busy but productive day. So, thought I'd start the day off by discussing another financial topic involving cars. And I'm going to break it down into three different types of conversation on getting a car. First, I take that back. Let's do it two ways. First, when you get a car, are you going to buy it or are you going to lease it? And what makes sense and why should you do either one? And second, are you going to pay cash or are you going to finance? So, I'm not even 100% sure my full stance on either topic. So this conversation that I have, it might seem biased in some ways, and in other ways it's more factual than any other. So here's kind of how I'm going to break it down. Let's talk first about buying a car. All right, so when you buy a car, it is something that you will have 100% ownership. Once you have the title, whether you pay cash or make payments, we'll get to that in a little bit, it is 100% your car. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. If you want to keep it forever, you can keep it forever. If you just want it to sit in a garage and just stay there, you can do whatever you want with it. It's almost like a piece of stock. All right, you can buy it, you can sell it, you can trade it. Excuse me. And so you have 100% complete ownership. Now with leasing, generally, you go to the dealership, you pick it up, and you'll keep it for 2 to 3 years on average. Now, in those 2 to 3 years of ownership, you are allotted a certain amount of mileage. Generally, people either stick with 10,000, 12,000, or 15,000. And those are just generalities, okay? Depending on what kind of car you get, you might have to go lesser miles. You could go extended miles. And that's all based upon your circumstance. But on average, if it's an everyday car that you're going to drive every single day, generally you're in a 10, 12, or 15,000 mile a year category. Now, at the end of those 3 years, you turn the vehicle back in, and it's like you never had the car. You don't lose money on it. You don't make money on it. You get in it, and then you get out of it. That's really the whole premise of it. Now, here are the pros. When you own it, you can trade it in, and it's your car to trade in at anytime you want to. Here's the con to buying, right? When you do trade it in, a lot of times, if you're making payments on it, if you're trading it in within 2 to 3 years, generally you're going to have some negative equity in the car, meaning that you're going to owe more on the car than what it's worth. Many times in my car experience, I've seen somebody who had a vehicle that we were going to give them $25,000 for, but they owed $35,000, and that is a huge, huge lockup when you're looking to get a second car. Because if you're trading it in, if you get approved and if all of that works out, now not only are you buying, say the car is a $40,000 car, now you're financing a $40,000 car for $50,000. If that makes sense, because you're rolling over negative equity. So that's the con to it. Now let's talk about leasing. Pros. Once you're in it for 2 to 3 years. Sometimes you can trade out early. There's some penalties involved, but you can get out whenever you want. When you get out, generally the idea is you go into another lease and get something newer. Now, when you do this, there is no negative equity. See, one of the things I didn't touch on in the last part is if you do buy it and you have it paid off, you have 100% positive equity. Whatever they give you for the car, that's essentially cash that you're putting to the next car as a down payment or as a cash purchase. With this, there is no equity, okay? So the pro, you don't have any negative equity. You're not going to owe any more than what the actual lease payment for the car would be. Second is that, unfortunately, you're not going to have any positive equity. So when you go to actually trade the vehicle in, you're not going to have a little bit extra from the trade to make it worth as a down payment. That makes sense. So just keep that in mind. Now, generally with a lease, there are stipulations. Like we said, there's some mileage limits, and there may be some other side stipulations there when you go to turn the vehicle in. But either one, not necessarily a bad way to go, depending on what you're wanting to do with cars. If you're the kind of person that's going to keep a car forever, I say go ahead and just buy the car. If you're the kind of person who likes to get a new car every 2 to 3 years, I'd go with the lease. Now, be warned, Dave Ramsey does suggest, actually he's very adamant about never doing a lease, because generally you will pay more for the lease. The reason that is because we told you there's no negative equity when you're trading from your lease to the next car. There is no negative equity. You're sort of paying that in the payment itself. So statistically, yes, you do pay a little bit more for the lease. However, it's one of those things, you don't ever have any negative equity, and you can just trade from one vehicle to the next. Now, as far as purchasing, or when you're purchasing, or even leasing for that matter, whether or not to pay cash or to make payments, the finance, I think that all depends on your situation. If you are 100% Dave Ramsey and want to do what he says, you're going to purchase it and you're going to write a check. You're going to pay cash, no questions asked. However, for some, that might not be as easy to do, or there could be some advantages to not paying cash. I like the idea of paying cash just because once you buy it, it's yours, you've got the title, and you can do whatever you want to do with the car. Whereas if you finance, generally you have negative equity and not positive equity, unless you do put a large amount of money down on it. So here's why financing might not always be the worst idea. Let's just say that in my case, I have investments set aside to maybe help with my car purchases down the road. Okay, this isn't something I bank on, but that's kind of what part of its purpose was. And so let's just say that in 10 years, I have, just to make the numbers simple, $120,000 in that account set aside just for my vehicle purchases, okay? And I'm doing 10% in interest every year. So basically I'm making $12,000 a year, which equates to $1,000 a month to put on a car. Now, my personal vehicle that I really want to buy, and I mean I really want to buy one right now, is an F-150 Raptor. So let's just say, again, for ease of numbers, that I'm doing a 0% finance loan, which isn't possible with something like this, but let's just, for the sake of numbers, let's just say, or even if it is a 4% interest rate, or however much the interest rate is, let's just say that I'm financing exactly $72,000 on a 72-month lease, or a 72-month term. Okay, that puts me at exactly $1,000 a month, which is equal to what my payments are, or what my interest earned is every month. So essentially, that investment is actually making my payment for me. I'm paying exactly $1,000 a month, and my investment, it's not losing any money. Actually, it's probably gaining money, considering the fact that I'm still investing into this, and I'll be putting more investments in every month. So that investment will appreciate while it's still making that car payment for me, if that makes sense. Now, here's the thing. You can't always bank on the market. Okay, the market, it fluctuates. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. And it's never truly predictable as to what will happen with it. So, you've got to be careful if you decide to go that strategy. Just beware. You might not end up on the best scale in the world. Okay, so if you want to go that strategy, I'd make sure that you've got a lot more money into that account before you start dishing out exactly what you're getting on your average return. Just as a fair warning of caution. But it's an idea to kind of maybe think about that as an option. Because really, if you're making 10% interest and you're losing 4% on your payment and interest, you still got a 6% added bonus there that you're making on top of your investment. So again, just an idea, just a thought. One more thing I would kind of go along with that is just to maybe give the idea, same example, if you have $120,000 and you invest, or your payment would be $1,000 a month, or if you have the actual cash to do it, which in this case you would, you write that check for, let's just say, $70,000 because you're going to pay cash. All right, that means you got $50,000 left in that investment account. But you do own the title to the truck, which is a Pro. Now, in 7 years, that investment, according to the rule of 72, statistically, you won't have that $120,000. You won't have made it back up on that same average that you've been in 7 years. So in 7 years, that $50,000, it would probably be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 110. And that's just an estimate. I don't have my actual calculator with me, but mathematically, you would actually have less money in your account. To some people, it's worth it to them to take that risk, to take that chance to actually have the title to the car. And look, either way you go, I can't say I blame you. All right, because there's two ways to look at it, and it just really depends on your situation. If you've got $250,000 in the account and $1,000 a month is really no sweat to you, then hey, I mean, that's fine. Just do it that way then. But I mean, at the same time, if you'd just rather take a little bit of a loss on the actual principal of your investment and just go ahead and pay cash for guaranteed you've got the truck, I mean, by all means, go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. So just kind of wanted to explain buying and leasing and paying cash and financing and really the differences you have there. Ultimately, I'm not concerned with how much the dealership is going to make or how much they're not going to make, as long as I think I'm getting a good deal. Really, that's the idea you're trying to go with here. So really, you just got to look at your situation and be smart about it. And that's really the whole trick to it. You know, just whatever works best for you, whatever situation is looking the best. So thanks guys for watching. Like always, please like and subscribe, comment if you've got any questions, if you got any thoughts, if you got any suggestions. I always love hearing feedback from people, whether it is a criticism or if it's an encouragement. So thanks for watching. Again, please like and subscribe. Have a great day.